Michella Chester, joined by NCAA Volleyball Committee Chair Danielle Josetti. The 2024 bracket is unveiled. We have our 64 teams ready to compete for the national championship. Danielle, I know it's been a really long weekend. What are your overall thoughts on this year's bracket?
Well, we're really excited. We have a lot of great teams in the tournament. We think we have some incredible matchups. And with the parity in volleyball right now, we're just really excited to get it going and see how things play out.
All right, I want to start with the top, which is the top four seeds. Obviously, one of the toughest decisions in the bracket. So we'll start with Pitt over Nebraska. Obviously, they've been battling for that one seed for a while. Nebraska more top 10 wins, but Pitt less losses. What was the decision maker there?
Yeah, so we had a great conversation about this. Pitt's been playing some fantastic volleyball this season. They have the number one KPI, number one RPI, and they only have one loss. They have a win over Penn State. So if you're looking at common opponents, win over Penn State, who recently beat Nebraska, and that's how we came to that determining factor that Pitt was the number one seed this year.
And then we'll keep going through the list. Obviously, Louisville got in as the 4 seed over Stanford. Maybe Creighton was in the conversation for that. But what was the decision maker there for Louisville to be the last 4 seed?
Louisville has a higher RPI. They have more top 10 wins, and they have the number one strength of schedule in the country for the non-conference and overall. Although Stanford has the most recent win, we did watch it this weekend, but we've been watching all year, and we look at the full body of work. And they did split this season, and Louisville doesn't have any losses outside of the top 5. That's why we went with Louisville.
Okay, so we'll go through the top 16 a little bit more. A few things that stood out to me. Kentucky looks a little bit higher than they were previously, and then Oregon a little bit lower. So can you kind of talk through the decision makers on that, why Kentucky kind of took a little bit of a jump there?
Yeah, so Kentucky, they did move up. They have a top 10 win. They have 5 top 25 wins. And their RPI is 9. They have 14 top 50 wins. They also have the number 2 strength of schedule in the country. So that helped them jump some of the other teams.
So then we have 14, 15, 16. You've got Utah, Baylor, and Oregon. Oregon kind of took a pretty big fall from what they were in the last reveal and what they've been in the AVCA rankings. What was the justification there for Utah and Baylor being above Oregon for those last few seed spots?
Yeah, and Oregon didn't do anything wrong. So we don't necessarily look at it like they fell. It was more that other schools had some opportunities to move up with top 25 and top 15 wins. So Utah had a 13 RPI, top 50 wins. Baylor has a top 10 win, and none of those teams have any bad losses. And so that's what helped secure all 3 of them in our 16 seed.
So take me inside of the war room this weekend when just madness was breaking loose. I was thinking to myself that these teams are not making it easy on the committee. I mean, Stanford over Louisville, NC State over SMU, Florida lost to Georgia and South Carolina, Penn State over Nebraska. How much did those late season results really affect everything?
It certainly adds to the conversation. One of our secondary criteria is the last 10 games. So we're paying attention. But again, it's the full body of work we've been watching all season. And so while we take it into consideration, it's not a deciding factor. There were some matches this weekend that certainly had the committee on the edge of our seats, sweating it out a little bit. It's going to make for a great tournament.
What were the first 4 out? How difficult was that in deciding the last teams that got in?
That's incredibly difficult. We know that these women have been putting their heart and soul into this for years. Some of them since they were little, many of them since they were little kids. So we don't take that lightly that we are breaking some hearts. The first 4 teams out, Arizona, Rice, Pepperdine, and San Diego. They had great resumes. They had some great wins. But ultimately, when you're comparing them against the teams that did end up making it in, you're maybe looking at there are some losses in the 100 or 200 range that maybe some of the others didn't have. Strength of schedule that was 200 or above, or high KPIs. So collectively, those are the things that when you're getting down to that nitty gritty may have kept them out. But they're very good teams. They played some very good volleyball, and we certainly wish we could have included all of them.
I know every decision feels difficult, but is there any one that had the most robust conversation? Was it the top 4 seeds, the last 16 seed, or the at-large bids? Or was it just all equal?
For sure, the most lengthy conversations were about that 4 or 5 seed. We talked in great detail all 3 days because you want to get that right. To have the opportunity to potentially host 2 weekends in a row is significant, and we had really good teams in contention for that spot. So like I mentioned earlier, Louisville and Stanford. We talked about them. I think you can make a case for either one of them. Stanford's a very good team. They have a lot of top 25 wins, but ultimately we did go with Louisville. And, we also talked about Creighton. Creighton's had a fantastic season. They only have 2 losses, and those losses are on the road in 5 sets. They've been a lot of fun to watch. They're a force to be reckoned with, but ultimately the teams above them had more top 10 wins, and that's why we went that direction.
We have a really, really exciting bracket and so much parity. What is the committee most excited for? Any matchups you're super excited for, or just anything in general?
We're just excited to get it going. It's been a great season. It's been so much fun to watch. We're excited about the matchups. We're excited about the regional matchups. And we think it's just going to be, we know Louisville's going to be a great host that last weekend. And we're just excited to see everybody out there and get going.
Well, thank you so much for all the time and effort the entire committee puts in all season long, especially this weekend over Thanksgiving. I know it's really difficult to put together a bracket like this, so we appreciate your work. Thank you so much, and we're so excited for the tournament.
Thanks for your time, Michelle. We appreciate it.